Common Sense America with Eden Cornell. Yeah.
And we just had to listen to that fun intro one more time. This is Eden Hill. This is Common Sense America. It is Wednesday, February the 22nd. You guys, we're in the last week of February. What happened to February? But I am so excited about the spring. Got my spring colors on, still got my hot pink heels on, and we're just going to make this day a fantastic day. I'm so thankful for the beautiful sunshine. The flowers are popping, and I may sound a little congested because I'm allergic to everything that's popping. But other than that, we're going to have a great day here at Common Sense America. You know, we have some very important topics we're going to be talking about today and also for the rest of the week, you guys. We have some heavy things that are happening in our nation, but more importantly, we have powerful voices, people of faith, people of conviction who are coming to the forefront to speak about these issues, to talk truth, to talk about our God, our country, and our family, and more importantly, to really impact our nation's backyard in our kitchen table discussions. So here at Common Sense America, if you have not done so yet, hop over to my YouTube channel and subscribe. Common Sense America with Eden Hill. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, and every other social platform as we talk about these hot button item issues that are facing our news desks, that are facing those in all aspects of our nation. And, you know, I just wanted to throw this out there this morning. I reached out to my cousin in Ohio this morning because there's so many different things happening that we're hearing from that East Palestine explosion that happened. And we see the current president, commander-in-chief over in Ukraine, and we have not seen any of our officials go to this part of Ohio, with the exception of now my former boss, President Donald Trump, heading there today to really look into everything. And now everything's starting to move. Go figure. So why is it that the current sitting president has turned his back on this nation on so many different levels? One, because he's following the money and it's in the Ukraine. Have you guys noticed that? Yeah, I wasn't planning on going on that quick rant this morning, but I just felt like it was needed. I just heard President Donald Trump speak to my friend Krista Gall, 990 AM Philadelphia, the morning drive. He was just doing a hit with him this morning, and he was talking about how he's going to be going and meeting with the people. So I reached out to my cousin this morning, and we are looking into bringing over a mama bear to come over and talk about what is happening in that part of Ohio, and just wanting to show our support and our love for this country and for those who believe in freedom. So I wanted just to tell you that really quickly. Also, let me back up for a hot second. Friday, we are bringing over Military Java Group. They are a coffee group that support our military, that support our Marine Corps. And my husband and I are here close to Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune, Cherry Point, and New River. And we were introduced to this business owner who does Military Java Coffee Group. And so he's going to be coming over and talking about his service on Friday for our special Military Friday, remembering everybody deployed Friday. And then tomorrow, you guys, buckle up. We have a very important call to action to talk about tomorrow. All mama bears out there, I want you to make sure that you tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time. It is a pre-recorded interview, and it is talking about Onslow County schools, the school board, and the local leaders, and what has been uncovered. Stones are being turned over. Things are being uncovered, and there's some stories that you guys are going to hear about tomorrow. So I don't want you to miss that. I'm going to be posting a couple social media posts today to kind of just get the gears rolling, but I'm doing a call to action for all mama bears out there. We need to support a very powerful mama in this area in Eastern North Carolina who needs our help and our support as things are unfolding in the Onslow County School District. So you guys get ready. That's a big episode for tomorrow. But today I'm so excited to bring over one of my favorite young voices in the Libertas Institute, Analyst on privacy, on DNA, on everything, on the tracking, on our phones. I absolutely love Leslie Corbly. She's one of my favorite young voices. Well, I have a lot of young voice favorites, but today she's my favorite. She is joining us here this morning. And good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. It's so great to have you back. I just love you guys over at Young Voices. And I want to just do a quick intro about the amazingness of who you are. I was reading your article and Libertas Institute website, and you are a privacy policy analyst at Libertas Institute. Your background is in journalism, law, and policy. You graduated Phi Beta Kappa with a BA in journalism and a minor in constitutional studies at the University of Oklahoma, and obtained a JD from the University of Oklahoma College of Law. Hey, honey, when do you sleep? I asked John England the same thing when he came on. My goodness. And Libertas absolutely loved it. They posted that all over social media after our interview. But I'm just so impressed by the journey that you have sought out to do. And I just absolutely am grateful that you can come here to Common Sense America and talk about privacy policy issues. You can talk about why we're being tracked. And I want to get right to it. Let's talk about this Massachusetts thing going on. You posted this back in January. So just to let the audience know, Massachusetts violates consumer consent. And you wrote, government plus technology companies equals trouble. Talk to me about that.
Sure. So really what happened is specifically in the case of Massachusetts is the government appeared to be downloading COVID tracking applications onto specifically Android users' phones without user knowledge or consent. It appears that they had used technology built out by Google. So I'm not a technology expert on the actual use of various technological tools. I certainly have a background more on the legal and policy front on that side. But according to the lawsuit filed by the New Civil Liberties Alliance, that's NCLA, it's a new law firm that handles civil liberties centric cases. They did allege that it appears that significant number of users, possibly well over 1 million users of Android devices in Massachusetts and surrounding states may have been impacted.
So, okay, you're saying about 1 million, and then in the state of Massachusetts, and you may not know this, but I just want to throw this out there. Whether we are, on our iPhones or on our Android phones, and we live in other states, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, wherever, or North Carolina, do you think the possibility of that happening to the American people at a greater level, that could happen because of how this went down in Massachusetts? Do you think that is a possibility?
It's hard to say for sure. What I think is clear is that the technological infrastructure that would allow that is certainly built out. So there are certain infrastructure technologically that would allow for various scenarios that I think people would find disturbing. Of course, whether or not those are occurring or say could occur based on the leadership in any given state raises a different set of questions. But I think that what people need to be aware of is that certain infrastructure and certain digital structures allow for certain possibilities that people may want to be aware of as far as, okay, what do the guardrails look like? So another example of this doesn't just come up with things like COVID tracking apps, but an example of this comes in the realm of what's called geofencing, where law enforcement can draw a boundary around a digital crime scene or a digital boundary around a real physical crime scene.
Right.
And then they can request from technology companies all user data within that digital boundary. Now, of course, they're not going to get on the front end just names and usernames and things like that, but it's very difficult to fully anonymize digital data. So I think the important thing to remember and really think through is what can happen with these digital infrastructures isn't necessarily what is happening or even what's likely, let's say, in various states. What's likely to happen in Florida isn't going to be the same as New York, Massachusetts, or Montana.
Well, let me ask you this. This may seem hopefully not naive, but just something like more in layman's terms. I've noticed that when my husband and I do our road trips, whether I go to Virginia, whether I go to Pennsylvania, all of a sudden I get notifications on my phone that I didn't put on my phone, that I didn't download on my phone, saying that you could have been exposed to COVID. And I noticed that, and I live in North Carolina. So as I traveled, and I noticed it during the holidays, but also not in the holiday season. And I noticed it on my husband's phone. I had to deactivate that on my husband's phone. And so he would not continue to get that notification because we didn't choose that notification. It just automatically popped up. So are you familiar with that? And are more people being exposed to the fact that this was already automatically downloaded, and then you can go in and easily delete it? Because that's what I ended up having to do, because I don't want to be tracked, and I don't want to know what is in it around me. Do you know what I mean?
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. I think one of the things that is important to actually know is that you're going to be being tracked in a way, regardless of those notifications. So my understanding of notifications like that is that as you're traveling, your cell phone is constantly pinging different towers. So they're probably not actually downloading anything onto your phone. So the allegations as it relates to Massachusetts, the troubling nature of that, legally speaking, is that they were downloading something onto your device. They weren't just sending you a notification like, you get Amber Alert notifications, or things like that. So I've certainly received those when I'm traveling across state lines or possible flooding or something of that nature can come up. A COVID notification like that would probably come in the same vein. Hey, we've had high cases here. You may have been exposed. But what they were actually doing was downloading an application onto your phone, not just sending you a notification that you could determine whether you want, I don't want to receive these notifications anymore, or whatever action you could take on the back end with that. But they were actually downloading it onto your device, which the NCLA was alleging, and I would agree, constitutes a trespass, since it's taking up physical space on your phone. Right? It's saying we're going to, even if it's a small amount of your phone, it's still a trespass nonetheless. And then, of course, violating your expectation of privacy, that you wouldn't have what could, by some definitions, amount to spyware downloaded onto your phone without your consent.
Right. I want to read a little bit of your article to the audience so they can have a couple understandings of what you were talking about. A couple things that you cited. First, you were talking about property and privacy rights. First, secretly downloading an application onto a user's phone violates the individual's property rights by taking up storage space on the phone and gathering an unknown amount of data while on the user's device. You just cited that. Second, this government program violated the Fourth Amendment privacy rights by working with Google to automatically download an application without user consent. You then went on to say, indeed, because the software downloads on individual phones without the user's knowledge or consent, it amounts to a form of spyware under the Congressional Research Service definition of a term. In written statements, Google confirmed it worked with Massachusetts DPH to automatically distribute DPH's application to Android phones. And then you had mentioned Lee described the statement as a, quote, smoking gun in his lawsuit against the state of Massachusetts because it removes any ambiguity regarding whether the application is controlled by the state and whether it was intended to download on user devices without their knowledge. I know Massachusetts is in its own vein, but you can't help but wonder. And I know that you're not sure. I had asked you earlier before we went live, what other states could be doing this? And I kind of, I'm sitting here as a conservative podcast host right here saying, well, Massachusetts is pretty blue. I wonder if other blue states are basically infringing on the rights of Android users and also iPhone users. I have to sit there and ask that question. I know you can't answer that, but that's just me kind of going on a little bit of a rant. But what else are they doing that we are unaware of? But from your legal background, what can people do being in the state of Massachusetts and this happening without having any legal representation? What are their rights?
Well, hopefully this lawsuit will assist in clarifying what can and can't occur. I certainly agree with the NCLA's allegations at the extent to which they have factual grounding, and I believe they do for what they've alleged. I don't think it's legal to download software applications onto digital devices without the user's knowledge or consent. I think that's a pretty clear legal line that you can't cross. That being said, I think that these kind of cases really highlight the problems that we're running into in the digital era, where some of these digital infrastructures are being built out and have capabilities that are very powerful and have not really are difficult to they're difficult to rein in, in the sense that it's difficult to enforce various rules against them before something bad happens.
Right.
We're kind of that's just the landscape that we're in right now, and I think this really is not a partisan issue, as it not to imply that you were making it partisan, but I don't think
I
this is
was.
partisan.
You're good. I was making
But
a partisan. Go ahead.
It's not a partisan issue because while Massachusetts may have decided today to download a COVID tracking application, it's not really clear what happens tomorrow in relation to these technologies, right? And the way that they're used or misused. So the abuse of government power is pretty profound as it relates to some of these new technologies and what can be used, particularly when they're engaging in really close relationships with private actors. So I think that that's what people really need to take away from this, is that there's a lot of digital infrastructure that's being built out. Our world is increasingly hybrid between digital and physical, and it's really not clear how to address and deal with those issues. Hopefully we'll continue to have good law firms like NCLA that will handle, take these claims and handle them. But you can imagine how many people may have known this happened and weren't willing to consider legal action for various reasons. It's expensive, it's time consuming. Of course, NCLA is a public interest law firm, so that certainly helps on the expense side, but for the plaintiffs, but it certainly doesn't take away some of the other costs that come with litigation, time that's sunk into it, concerns as to how this may affect other aspects of your life. People don't really like filing lawsuits for that reason, particularly when there could be anything controversial at stake.
Well, no, exactly. Let me ask you this. I also posted when I was promoting having you on today, the whole DNA privacy piece. Talk to us about that. You had mentioned 23andMe and all those DNA platforms for people to connect with their ancestors and see the background of where they came from. But what's the privacy concerns that you have there?
Sure, the privacy concerns really are that it's unclear. Once again, it's unclear what the future applications, the future uses of DNA could be. So one of the things that's becoming more common now is if one of your family members uploaded their DNA sample, it's possible to trace an individual through not a DNA they've uploaded to a website, but perhaps DNA that a family member has uploaded. So I believe they also use that in the article I wrote. I think I had linked back to the Idaho, the recent Idaho murders. I believe it was a quadruple murder out in Idaho. Yeah. They had there was a DNA sample at the crime scene, and I believe they had searched DNA databases that were private to locate their suspect. So of course, most people aren't concerned to the extent that they found the right guy when you find a murderer. I don't think that's really the concern that people are having.
Right.
But once again, the extent to which law enforcement can access this information without a warrant, without any kind of protocols, is more or less governed by the corporate policies of the companies. Of course, consumers consent to that, but I think on the consumer side, most people aren't really thinking about what that may or may not mean. So the corporate policies, all of these companies have their privacy policies posted publicly, which will lay out how they'll handle your DNA data. But I think for consumers to be thinking through these issues, in my opinion, really involves you want to be looking at, okay, how is this possibly going to be used in the future? And what am I really thinking through the possible implications of assisting in building out these databases to begin with? Because it's not as if DNA only has applications for murder cases, and indeed it has applications beyond just law enforcement.
Right.
You can think of the different types of genetic testing that can be run through DNA.
Right.
And understand that it has a lot of powerful information about individuals, their families, and those that they love.
Well, let me ask you, you had mentioned this before we talked about the DNA aspect, but what are the top 3 things that you can say to my audience about protecting their privacy concerns when it comes to we're on our phones 24/7. We have kids on their phones 24/7. And, I know that parents have a lot of control. Well, they try to have a lot of control of their kids when they're on their phones. But, just the other morning for President's Day, I took my 3 godsons out for breakfast and we all had our phones. And I said, okay, phones in your pockets, phones in the purses. We are not going to be glued to our phones. We are here to communicate across the table and to enjoy breakfast. And we all did it. And it was great. We had a blast. But my point in saying that is where can we be better about knowing what our privacy rights are and knowing how we can be preventative for our kids' sakes privacy, but then also as we are just, I know I'm on my phone 24/7 and I absolutely hate it. I absolutely hate it. But where can I have better privacy in regards to the constant tracking of things that are happening? Because as soon as I notice, and I know what it is, as soon as I mention purple shirt, I have all these purple shirts popping up on my browser, on whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And so, what are some simple tools for us for privacy's sake?
So some simple things you could do would be to check the settings of each app you have, and have them set to the settings you would like. So actually, for things like Google, I don't even have my tracking on for any of that. So it makes things slightly more annoying. I mean, things like when I go to drive somewhere I'm not familiar with, I have to click the consent that I consent you, but I consent only doing it this time. So I do that for each app I have. So it's same for Instagram. I don't consent to I don't have my microphone just on in Instagram. So every single time I go to post something, it asks, like, let's say it's a video, it asks, can I use your microphone? And I put just this time.
Right.
So that's a simple thing you could do. I think more broadly speaking, you could also I think people need to be more aware of what applications they want to use, which they don't, why. I think there's a tendency to just post on social media. I think that's usually a mistake. I think you should probably think through. I think people need to be thinking through those things a little more clearly on the front end before they engage, and then being aware of what you really need in your life. I mean, there's a lot of honestly a lot of things that people don't really need. I re-downloaded Instagram because I knew my employer would be posting more. We're going to be posting more videos through that forum. And so I thought, okay, I'll download it for that purpose. But prior to that, I didn't have it. I still don't have Facebook. I don't need it. I don't see any compelling reason to engage in.
Thank you for telling me that, because I went to tag you on Facebook and I couldn't find you. I'm like, wait a second, she's not on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook. I don't think I need it, and so I think really thinking through things on that front is really another way you can take more control of your digital life, is to really think through what you do and don't need on the front end. For a lot of consumers, these things aren't needed, and they're really not necessary. And then there's also ways you can use it that are pretty benign. I know I have friends that only use Facebook on their browsers, like on their computer, so they have an account but they never download the app. So that way you could access, say, something like Facebook Marketplace, or if you have certain groups you are still in that you want to follow, that's a way to do that. Or to follow along with your family members or something like that. But there's really not a I don't think need for some of these things. And I think a lot of it is people, looks interesting, let's go ahead and get on and join the crowd and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with that per se. I think it's just we need to be perhaps a bit more mindful as to what we do and don't want and need in our life. And that's one way to think of it. And then, of course, another is just basic digital awareness. And by that, I mean, like you mentioned, we're on our phones so often that I think it feels like part of the physical world, which makes sense, but it's not. And being aware of anything that transmits digitally has certain risks that don't come with the physical. And sometimes it has certain benefits that don't come with the physical. So it is a risk reward calculation and a pros and cons list that you have to run through. But of course, there's more ways to access digital information than physical. So I think being aware of that is another way that people need to be more mindful of. Oh, when I'm putting something out digitally, it has risks that don't come with physical activity.
Yeah. I was sitting here thinking as you were talking about just the whole privacy policy piece of it. And about 5 years ago, today's the anniversary. I represented Michelle Rigby Assad. She's a former undercover CIA agent. And I remember when we first started working together, she didn't have anything in regards to any online presence whatsoever. And, you go from one extreme to the complete other. And, it took her a hot minute to get used to being back online. and having some kind of presence because she was so strict on, and she had to be because of her role, and having that type of privacy policy for her own work and profession. But then I sit there and say, some of those things that she said and some of the things that you were saying, we could adopt in our day-to-day life just to have better protection of and privacy of what we are, being a part of. I know for myself, social media is my bread and butter for my clients, for the podcast. And so I have to constantly be engaging in the social media tracking aspect. But then the other side of it is just like we talked about with the whole COVID thing and Massachusetts, and noticing that I was getting these notifications I hadn't signed up for. Not necessarily the application already downloaded, but that instance as well. So
well, I think when you mention being aware, I think that's really, really important, because some of these things we go, what are simple things you can do? You notice those simple things the more you're thinking through what it is you do and don't want in your life and why and all of that. So I think a high degree of intentionality goes a long way. And I know that that's not like unfortunately, it's not like a simple fix, but we are really in a landscape where that's going to keep evolving and changing. And there's not going to be an easy way to say, oh, well, these are the privacy centric things you can do technology wise, because you're going to end up with a different, not only things evolving with each app, because, each iteration, I mean, I downloaded Instagram again. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even know how to use this app anymore. Like it's been
yeah,
I don't know what's going on. What the heck are reels? I don't understand what's happening. What is going on? That's what that felt like. So, so it's and that's of course the reels end is different than the privacy. My point is they update their privacy policies, fairly frequently. And so that's something I think to be aware of when you get a new device or when you're looking at new anything in the digital realm. But that's where I think a high degree of intentionality and awareness when it comes to anything you're doing digitally comes into play, because these are systems that are moving very quickly and updating very quickly, and they're not going to be consistent over even 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Final question I wanted to ask you. We have not talked about this, so if you can't answer, I get it. But I wanted to just kind of get your perspective, if you will, on the whole TikTok aspect. And, you see South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem talking about, removing it from all the government devices. And you're seeing it more and more across state governments. And then, obviously federally, people are looking at it. But what are your initial thoughts on the privacy breaches of TikTok?
I mean, I wouldn't download TikTok. I wouldn't have anything to do with TikTok. It is a Chinese-owned company, and whenever you're dealing and interfacing with a Chinese-owned company in that way, of course, it's going to be operating at with the blessing of the CCP. China is not in any way, shape, or form a democratic or Republican form of government in the sense that we use those terms in the West. So you're dealing with, of course, a totalitarian state and a company that is running at the pleasure of a totalitarian state.
Right.
I wouldn't personally ever download it. I've never even considered it. I don't use TikTok. I don't have anything to do with that application.
Yeah.
Of course, I also wouldn't trust it. And by that, I mean, when you download that, I wouldn't trust that the things they say they are and are not doing with their data are accurate, with your data are accurate. So for instance, there's, I believe there's been reports that it can, scrape your phone of all kinds of data. And again, some of these things we do intentionally with Facebook. So if you turn on the microphone, the application can, like you mentioned, it hears me talk about a blue sweater and then it advertises to me accordingly. But with TikTok, I have also heard, again, I cannot verify the accuracy of a lot of what's going on in the TikTok world. I don't specifically study that app or have a high degree of awareness of like what softwares or whatnot TikTok is using. But I've certainly heard, I have friends who have had the app download on their phone, then they undownloaded it, downloads again. So I don't really know. I never, so like on new phones, which is interesting, on my new phones I've had to get a couple of new phones in the past year. Because they keep breaking, but they keep breaking. Maybe it's user error. You can blame me. That's fine. Like TikTok they'll want to auto download it because it's such a popular app. It's one of the most popular apps right now in existence. And so when you get your new phone, they're saying, oh, here's this new popular app, you should download it. And I always have to click the don't download TikTok. I don't want TikTok. I don't want anything to do with that application. But yeah, I wouldn't. I would think from a privacy standpoint, if you're remotely concerned with what's happening with your digital data, other social media forms of social media are risky. I would say TikTok would be at the very top of that list. I wouldn't. If you're concerned with your privacy, I wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, no, well said. The trusting factor, you use the trust factor right there. You said that word. And, as we wrap up this segment, there's a lot to be said about the trust factor when it comes to any of these social media companies and what they are seeking to take from us. And it goes back to the privacy piece that you consistently bring, and you are constantly raising the flag on with Libertas and also with Young Voices. Where can we find you, with the exception of Facebook and TikTok? And what other things do you have coming down the pike that we can kind of flag to look for?
Sure. So you can, of course, follow me on Libertas. I have a website, which is just lesliecorbly.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter at Corbly Leslie. Feel free to follow me on any of those platforms. And then it's been legislative session out here in Utah. So I've been working hard on some bills that we're running here in Utah. Okay. One of them is actually trying to put some guardrails around the use of geofences, which I had mentioned earlier, that digital boundary that's placed around a crime scene. Yeah. And then user data is requested, as you said, to locate suspects of the crime. And so that's one bill we've been running. And then another is actually looking at ensuring that you have protection for any electronic data that your vehicle covers. So back in 2019, Libertas was involved in passing a law in Utah that ensures that in order to access electronic data, law enforcement needs to get a warrant for that. We had allowed exemptions within that law that cover things like hot pursuit, exigent circumstances, and other warrant common exemptions to warrants. So there's what's called judicially recognized warrant exceptions. And generally vehicles fall under that because vehicles are have a lower expectation of privacy than homes and other property people possess. So we're wanting to close that loophole as it relates to digital data, because with the rise of electronic vehicles and vehicles gathering so much more data, we want to ensure that your digital data that's gathered by your car requires a warrant. So we're looking to close that loophole.
Would that be the digital data for the car? Would that be used towards if there was a car accident or a hijacking or any crime, if you will?
And this is really preventative. Right now, I don't think that they're running a lot of forensic audits regularly, but it's cars do just have a generally lower expectation of privacy, and for some, for valid reasons. If you're doing a stop, a traffic stop and you're a police officer and you pulled someone over, you may need to search the vehicle for a safety check to ensure there's no loaded guns in the car, things like that. So generally, let's say your car is impounded, they can search your car when it's impounded and there's no expectation of privacy. What we're saying is, as it relates to digital data that your car is gathering, we don't think that poses the same risks. And to the extent that practice could change, we think we should just close that loophole now. But there's no current I don't think that law enforcement is currently running forensic audits of cars on any routine basis. This is just designed, given the digital world we're living in, to close a pretty reasonable loophole.
Oh, wow. Well, Leslie Corbly, privacy policy analyst for Libertas, and to all your social media Libertas people, I got the name right this time around.
You did.
I practice and practice and practice. And then you are an amazing commentator for Young Voices. And so thank you so much for being here with us. We love when you educate us on all of these phenomenal policy and privacy expert aspects. So thank you. Many blessings to you this Wednesday. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye. And for all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I'm Eden Hill. Oh, I just absolutely love bringing over Young Voices to our show, and also Libertas, amazing policy analysts on all levels. So hashtag common sense, hashtag privacy, hashtag education and defense. We have so many amazing commentators and analysts that come over here to Common Sense America and just give us a few minutes of their time So when you have a chance, if you are on social media and you are looking to check out more of Leslie Corbly's writings, you can go over to Libertas Institute, or you can also follow her on Twitter, like she had mentioned. She is on LinkedIn. And a lot of the times I do hop over to LinkedIn to find the real professional pieces that a lot of the commentators and guests that I have here at Common Sense America, where they post. So if you are looking for more resources and more information, go over to LinkedIn and check them out. Leslie Corbly, John England, Gabriella Hoffman, just to name a few of some of the great commentators that are recurring on this show. You can find them over on LinkedIn and some of their policy papers as well. I'm going to take just a quick break, get a couple drinks of my coffee and water, and then I'll be right back. And we're going to be talking about tomorrow and prepping for what is ahead as we talk about education, as we talk about our school systems, as we talk about what's really happening in our schools and what are the parental rights at a federal level and on a state level, and, stopbullying.gov. There's a lot of things happening. And I don't know if we even really like to talk about it or wanted to talk about these heavy issues, but they're actually happening and we need to talk about it. So I'm going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Thanks for joining Common Sense America today. And thanks, Will Baker, for your amazing music for here at Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. It is Wednesday. It is February the 22nd as I'm looking down at my calendar. We are in the last full week of February. Yes, I am so excited for March. You know why? Let me just tell you why. Well, a lot of you, I was going to post on my social media accounts just a quick clip, and I probably will later today. But a lot of you have been asking, hey, Eden, are you guys okay? Is everything okay? I have been a little quiet on social media for many reasons. One, I am working on a phenomenal book tour for my client, Dr. Jennifer London. You will probably get to meet her yet again here in the coming weeks. And we booked her on Fox Business for President's Day. And many of you know I used to produce and book for Fox Business, and I had the joy of being able to help get her segment ready this weekend. So it was a long but an amazing weekend working with the Fox Business team, and I just want to applaud them. Mornings with Maria, you guys are phenomenal. So thank you. But I have been really intensely working on her amazing book tour. She's going to be speaking at the USO. She's going to be speaking with Turning Point USA Gulf region in Pensacola, Florida. She's going to be speaking at the National Press Club, the American Legion. We may even take her to CPAC next week. Hint, hint, maybe. I didn't think I was going to be doing CPAC this year, but I just may end up showing up for a day to do some media row. She also was going to be speaking at Chapel Hill with Turning Point North Carolina. And so, as you can see, a theme, her book, her late husband's book, Ever Vigilant, has been recognized for the leadership and entrepreneurial leadership and business and commitment and courage and integrity, these amazing ingredients to the recipe of success. She talks about, as she goes and speaks to the next generation, as she speaks to the Naval Academy, as she speaks to many leaders, even the Secretary of the Navy, he respects her very much for what she's doing. And all the proceeds of Ever Vigilant go to Navy organizations. And so she is very much a support of our United States military. Her husband was a Naval Academy grad. I believe it was the class of 59 naval aviator, and went on to be a Fortune 500 businessman for CACI, and in the defense contracting industry. For many of you who lived and breathed and worked in DC for many years, he was at the very forefront. So that's what I'm working on. And along with bringing you new guests every week to this amazing podcast, having great support from Michelle Odom, from CL Bryant radio show, Red State Talk Radio, from Turning Point USA, from Libertas, from Young Voices. I mean, the list goes on. And so that is what I am doing. My husband and I are doing well. We are on many new adventures and having a blast. And we're also focused on raising the flag of truth for our God, for our country, and for our families. And so that leads me into what I wanted to talk about and just prep you guys for tomorrow. I will be doing a call of action. Hey, mama bears out there, if you are tuning in, make a mental note to tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Time here at Common Sense America, live streaming on all the social channels, and subscribe to YouTube just in case you don't have time to listen in. But I interviewed a concerned citizen, as I am a concerned citizen, but I'm also a podcast host. I'm also a speaker. I'm also an advocate for our education and our kids and our next generation. And I received a call earlier this week and about 2 weeks ago, alerting me to what is happening in Onslow County, North Carolina, and in our school systems here in Eastern North Carolina. And I wanted to read a little bit of an article that Tyrus Kemp, who is a concerned citizen here in Eastern North Carolina, he is a Navy veteran. He is a candidate for MBA at NC State. He is the founder of the North Carolina Spectator, and he wrote on his Substack article, Parental Rights in North Carolina. And I don't know if a lot of you are familiar, but if you do have kids in school, if you are a grandparent, if you are a godparent, if you are working with kids who are in school, elementary, middle, or high school, you have rights. You have rights. And you can take these rights and you can fight, I'm going to say it, the wokeness cult that is happening in our school systems. And, you know, having Turning Point USA high school students a couple weeks ago was a great example of homeschooling, but it was also a great example of parental rights and them standing up and raising the flag on literature, the Bible, beautiful pieces of history and presidential speeches being thrown out. But I also want to say this, the stories that you're going to hear tomorrow could shake you to the core. But have we become so jaded in our society that we just now accept what is happening in our school systems, whether it's in Onslow County, Craven County, Carteret County, or to the utmost ends of the United States? Are we so jaded or, just muted to it of what is happening. But the stories that we're going to talk about tomorrow are of two individuals. And Tyrus Kemp with the North Carolina Spectator and a concerned citizen, as am I, are going to be sharing with you stories that were shared with us. And we are raising the flag. We're raising the red flag. We're letting people know this is happening. And I am right now doing a call to action to all you mama bears out there, whether you are local, whether you're in a Moms for America, a Moms for Liberty group, whether you are a concerned citizen. But I need you mama bears out there to come alongside of a mama bear. I found out earlier in the year, a 9-year-old little boy was assaulted in the bathroom by one of his peers. And I'm not going to go into specifics, but it has affected his family. It has affected him. It has affected his spirit, his demeanor. And what I'm hearing and understanding as a concerned citizen is that the school in which it happened basically are, quote, saying their hands are tied and they can't do anything to help this family or the student who was assaulted. Same school in Onslow County said the same thing to a teacher who was assaulted. She has ER reports. She has police reports. Same school. And the teacher was told to go back to work like nothing ever happened. So tomorrow, we're going to be talking with Tyrus Kemp about him and his work to help this educator, this family who have been assaulted. And they are speaking loud and clear. The next school board meeting is coming up. And it's unfortunate that the school board just wants to push it under the rug. But I wonder if it's going to take, what's it going to take for them to wake up? I said to Tyrus in our interview, we did a pre-record, which will air tomorrow. I said, there's a lot of rats out there and we need some feral cats to come in. And we're not in New York City anymore. We're in Eastern North Carolina. Let me read you just a little bit of his article on the North Carolina Spectator. Parental rights are under attack. He wrote this back on January the 14th. And have you guys noticed we're almost in March? Even in the conservative regions of North Carolina, public school bureaucrats are seizing authority from parents. Onslow County is a prime example. Over the past 3 years, the attack on parental rights has been on full display. It has been led by a deeply bureaucratic public educational system, a system that has managed to seep its claws into schools of even the most conservative regions of America. Its mission is not veiled: to indoctrinate American students with a leftist worldview. Unfortunately, North Carolina is no exception. Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson's Fairness and Accountability in the Classrooms for Teachers and Student Task Force, which is FACT's first report, found instances of indoctrination in every region of the state. FACTS fielded over 500 submissions and found the sexualization of kids, critical race theory, and white shaming were several prominent themes. While many of the state's Republican lawmakers have spoken out against such themes, they have not had the political power to defend North Carolinians against rogue educators, administrators, and school boards. The media exposure from the Lieutenant Governor's task force and increased national coverage of correct public school systems have driven a growth in participation in nonpartisan grassroots organizations like Onslow Protect Our Children, Students, Opus, and Moms for Liberty. These organizations advocate for parental rights as well as encourage civic engagement at school board meetings. Even with the parents' interest in their children's education peaking, they are still losing the battle over who's getting to mold their children. The major reason for this in North Carolina is the highly progressive State Board of Education. Other than Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson and State Treasurer Dale Folwell, most of the board has been appointed by Governor Roy Cooper, the empty suit, who is a progressive Democrat. The board has immense influence over the state public school system and is managing to infect policies of Republican-led school boards all over the state. A great example of this infectious influence is in Onslow County, where a recent policy revision has limited parents' influence in removing objectionable books from schools. Policy Code 3210, Parental Inspection and Objection to Instructional Materials, was rewritten and approved in November 2022 with unanimous support from all Republican Onslow Board of Education. The policy was changed in critical ways that limit parents' ability to remove inappropriate books from classrooms and school libraries. It's a long but great read. I'm going to post this right now as I'm speaking to you here at Common Sense America. I'm posting it in the comments section, and I want you guys to go in and read it because I want you to be prepared for tomorrow. I'm also posting in here as well as we look to what is happening here in the culture wars, as well as what is happening in the school systems that is coming together. WRAL News at North Carolina bills targeting LGBTQ kids, latest in national culture war. I'm going to post this. I'm going to be posting a lot of different pieces. I want you guys to read as we are preparing for tomorrow's show. I also want to post stopbullying.gov. And it talks about, are there federal laws that apply to bullying, which the bullying piece is a segment to what happened to this child. It is a segment to what happened to this educator. So I'm going to be posting this right now for you as well to read. And then finally, last but not least, if you are not engaged with a Moms for Liberty group or a Moms for America group, please do so. Whether you are a mentor, the parent, the guardian of a child, a teenager, high school student, Tyrus will say, as he mentioned yesterday, as we did the pre-record yesterday, and we're going to be talking about it tomorrow, he reached out to the school board, and the school board members basically said, we're not talking to you. You're not a concerned parent. You're not a parent. And he said, I represent at least 3 different parents because they are unable to attend. And the school board member said, well, I'm not talking to you. So my concern is, the bigger concern is this. We have children being assaulted, educators being assaulted and abused, and concerned citizens like myself, like others, like Tyrus and his wife, like others in our community who are speaking out against the school board and to the school board and knocking down doors. But my bigger question is, what are the rats trying to hide? Where's the money trail? What is happening? So my call to action to each and every one of you as you are listening in is this. If you are a mama bear, a papa bear, and you have experienced something, but you were afraid to say something, message me. Message me here at Common Sense America. You can private message me so you don't have to worry about other people seeing it. If you're a mama bear, a papa bear, a grandparent, and you do know of things happening where you didn't have the right tools and you weren't sure how to go about it, message me. We are wanting to surround these parents who are going through this educator who are going through this with powerful sources of a grassroots movement to fight back the woke cult that is overtaking our school systems. Whether it's here in North Carolina or whether it's in upstate New York, it's happening. And what are we going to do about it? We have the power of our voice to speak up in the public square. We the people. I also encourage you, if you are looking for resources, here's the Moms for America Parental Rights Guide PDF. I just posted it there for you guys to pick up. Governor DeSantis, and I'll give you an example, Sarasota County, Florida. One of my guests, Bridget Ziegler, has been on the show a couple of times. She was running for school board and did win. She's also a commentator for Leadership Institute based in Washington, D.C., a conservative think tank organization that trains. I'm going to ask her and some others. I have a lot of resources in this area, but what we need more than anything is you to get involved. Whether it's to show up to that school board meeting, whether it is to say, hey, you know what? I want to surround that mama bear as she is going through what happened to her son and trying to figure out next steps. Hey, if you're a lawyer and you want to private message me and say, hey, I want to represent them, private message me. But we've got to do something about this. We can't just sit and watch it happen and let it continue to happen. On that note, it is just about 10 a.m. Eastern time here at Common Sense America. Please make sure you private message me on my Facebook. You can private message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Send me your notes, your commentary. If you have experienced anything like this, or you know of something like this happening and you don't know what to do, please let me know. We are doing a call to action. We are making sure that we are going to raise our voices and they will be heard. Power in numbers and by faith. We're not going to put up with this crap anymore. No, we're not. We're not. So on that note, be strong, be courageous, put on that full armor of God. We got a lot of work to do. Until then, I'll see you tomorrow. And like I said, message me if you have any comments, thoughts, questions, concerns. And if you want to rally around a mama bear who could use some support as she and her husband are looking for the next steps to protect their son from another assault, from the bullying. We got to talk about it, people. We got to talk about it. We got to fight it. We got a fight on our hands. Let's get into the public square and let's fight it. Until then, I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm Eden Hill. Have a great day.